Today we are talking Daryl Dixon's season 3 premiere. Welcome to Screens in Focus, the podcast where we talk about TV and movies. I'm Diana and Renee is back. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great. Excited about this episode. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So we had done a trailer talk last week and I was so thrilled because we got some things right and we got some hopes satisfied, but I know there's still more to explore in the rest of the season. But I thought that was kind of fun, which we'll talk about as we go through this episode. I do want to pose our question of the day, though, and we know that hot dogs in a can was a spotlight here. So I thought that was really interesting, and it kind of reminds them of home. And so I wanted the question of the day to be, what food instantly reminds you of home in an apocalypse? So think about that. We're going to answer it later on. So a lot happened in this episode. We saw squids, aka walkers, and we saw an Englishman with stories, the ruins of London, Daryl and Carol on water. We saw Spain. We saw people on horseback, in Jeeps, and then there was that ending moment. So I want to know from you, what was a highlight or what was your gut reaction to this episode?
Well, I thought it was an excellent opening to this season that I have had high hopes for ever since they started to reveal teasers and things, and you're just seeing all this action that's going to happen. And this, I was pleased with how it opened. Kind of slowly, working our way into this. I loved the little side quest in London. I thought that was great. I kind of wish we had more there in London. I think there was they could have done more, but I know they were actually filming it in Spain, so they had to create London. So I'm sure that's part of the reason why it was a little difficult. And I liked how, that led them meeting Julian, meeting him segued into them getting to Spain. So it was kind of good how that kind of pieced together. And and now I'm just excited to see what's to come with this Western Spanish vibe that's going to, it'll just be a lot of fun, I think it looks like. So I was happy with it.
This episode, what I really loved about it was the walkers. And that was one of the things that we talked about in the trailer was that I wanted more walkers. And I truly got what I wanted in this opening episode. I was scared. I loved seeing that mob of them at the bottom as Daryl and Carol were looking over that balcony. There was moments that I was scared for them. So I was thrilled with that. That's one of the highlights for me in this. Also, in one of the opening moments, I got really emotional the first time that I watched it. And it was when Daryl talked about his time with Merle and how he was so young when this happened to him. Something about that moment just like instantly got me. And so I knew that with it starting that way, that this episode was going to have a lot of moments like that and really kind of grip me the way that it did, because I was in it from the beginning because of the way that Daryl started off that way. He was, and I think it's because we had been there from the beginning. We saw the very first episode. So it's like we know Merle, we know Daryl. And so it's like this long journey with these characters. And so I think that that's why it hit me so emotionally. And also Daryl and Carol's chemistry. Man, they are like writing it so good. Like they are just so synced together. And we'll talk about it as we talk about their connection in this. But I just thought that was just a really big highlight for me, how they lean on each other, how they just can fight together and just have each other's back. So I loved all of that. In saying all that, I do want to talk about Carol and Daryl and their relationship, their connection. And did anything surprise you about them in this episode?
I don't think I was really surprised by much. I think it was just like you said, it was just really good. The second season, I felt like that had good moments, but it was definitely not my favorite season. And I felt like I know they had been apart, but like we didn't see them a lot together, because it was all just them dealing with their personal struggles and all those in the channel and things like that.
Yeah.
But now we're getting to see them, like you said, together in action and things like that, that's the Carol and Daryl I think most, fans of these characters want to see. They want to see them together. They want to see them fighting together, working together, these conversations, which, we haven't gotten to see that, from them for a long time since the main series where they actually, would sit and talk or sit and, kind of, pick on each other a little bit, different things that they would say and just, because they're just so comfortable with each other. And so I really enjoyed that. I think that that long-standing bond between them is stronger than ever. I think both of them and their emotional experiences in the channel, those were very personal experiences for each one of them. But I think it helped them to come back together because they had been apart for a while. It was like they both had these very emotional experiences
right
during, all of that. And it made them kind of reflect on maybe their relationship, that they still have each other, where he's lost Isabel, she's lost Sophia, but they still have each other. So I think that even though it was horrible to go through and all that, it did help them, if that makes sense. And the other thing that I liked was their conversation about the hiding and lying.
yeah
And how, she's like about lying. He's like, I don't lie to you, but I hide yeah, okay, I hide things. Which I don't know, I guess after so many years of them together, Carol is still able to peel back layers of Daryl Dixon. There's still something there, like they don't know or they know it, but it hasn't been maybe like brought to the forefront or whatever. But I just thought that was a very interesting conversation, that she's still picking apart Daryl Dixon, little pieces of him, and
yeah.
I really liked that. I thought it was very interesting and a good, I don't know, just another good connection between the two of them.
I have that as one of the main points. Of course, I think anybody who watches this would be, because we never get to see, or we didn't get to see in The Walking Dead. We saw parts of them, but I love how this show can delve into their whole relationship. You're right. Season 2, they were both kind of dealing with their own things, and now they're really together. And this show highlights their relationship and gets deeper into who they are. Just like in season 1, we had talked about how we didn't know. You kept saying, I've never heard Daryl talk so much in my whole entire life, right? Because he hardly has anything to say, or he never did in The Walking Dead. It was mostly his actions and just moments that he would bring things up. But in season 1, he did say a lot. And so here, it's like with anybody, how you're old friends with somebody, you haven't seen them in so long, but you come together and you can pick up right where you left off. And that is how they are. You pick up right where you left off. And yes, I love those moments between them. And like you said about him just hiding and how she can get to him. And she's not trying to. She's just saying how she feels, and he's just sharing with her. And I just love those moments. They feel so honest. And it makes me it makes me appreciate their relationship in real life as people, and bringing that, because I know that they're friends.
Yeah.
In real life, and how they can bring that onto the screen. And I just think both of them are such phenomenal actors. This is just another validation of how good they are and what they bring to the roles. So we saw vulnerability and trust with them, and care and survival, because we see Daryl tending to that wound on her back. Oh my gosh, when I watched it again, I was hiding. I was like, oh, I don't want to see this, because it felt like someone we know, right? As he's picking out this metal off her back, and she's got to deal with it and put the stick in her mouth so she can, get through it. But still, it is that reflection of that care they have for each other, and also survival and their playfulness. Like when she's like, oh, let's play I Spy. And he's like, I hate that game. I don't want to play that. But Daryl does it because Carol's his friend. She's wounded. They're going to do it. That moment on the boat when she keeps trying to tell him, I'm glad I found you. And he is basically, he doesn't want to hear it. Like, nope, 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 don't want to hear it. And that's so, I don't know about you, but I've had, family members who don't want to talk about if something should happen. It's like, no, 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 no.
Nope, I'm not
Don't
gonna
want to
listen
hear
to
it. Yeah. But you like want to say it because you want to say how much you care about
Right.
somebody. So it's, oh, and one thing that you said in our trailer talk that I loved came out here was when she was on the boat and she tells Daryl that, Sophia came to her and there was something lifted and now she doesn't feel that weight anymore. What did you think about that?
I was like, that sounds familiar. I was, I was like, oh gosh, because that's what I hoped for her. I was like, she needed that. And so, yeah, I was like, I was like, that was amazing, because that's what we wanted for Carol. I mean, the woman has been through so much, and she's lost not only her biological child, but she's lost other children that she's kind of taken in. And it's just like, as a mother, you just like, oh my gosh. And not to mention the fact that she's in an apocalypse and all this too, just the mother side of her and all she's had to deal with. It was really good to hear her to say that. I'm glad they addressed that they, because sometimes we see things and then it just drops. We don't get anymore. So I really like that she voiced that, and we got to see that, it was therapeutic. As horrible as it was for her to go through it, it was, it turned out good for her.
And it'll make sense. Like you had said, because we were talking about in our trailer talk, how is Carol open for love? What kind of man could fill that? Who does she need? And that's when you said, you feel like the weight of that is past and that she can. I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're showing it. And now she can move on. And now it does make more sense because she's actually told us it's put, that part has been lifted. And mind you, when she said that, you could feel it too. That's when I was like, oh my God, Melissa McBride, you're brilliant in your acting. This is just, you feel it. And then she tells Daryl, do I sound nutty? And he's like, yes.
And that's what I love about them, because they can be so serious and then they just have that familiarity where they can just be goofy too, and I love that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And also going back to when they first were in London itself, and they were in that when they finally made their way into the house after facing all those walkers and everything. I was like, oh my God, what's happening here? But when they finally did make it in and making their way in there, I love the choreography of it all. Like, it was so good. It was like, I watched them, like, I was like, oh my gosh, Carol and Daryl really know how to work off each other. And mind you, they're just people, actors. They're not really living in this apocalyptic world. And the fact that they can reflect that and it feels like that, the way that they kind of help each other into that building. And then even when she's off looking for one thing and he's in the other, and she's all, Daryl, and she comes in and they just help each other. Also, when they were on the couch, when they were both sleeping, and they're both on different sides of the couch facing different ways, which I thought was such a cool strategic move to watch them visually do that. And then Daryl wakes up and then Carol hears him and gets up. I don't know. There's just something that struck me about all of that and how they maneuver around each other, and even on the boat, and how they, when Julian was hurt, how they just glance at each other and that they know what each other is thinking, right? Or, oh wait, there's so much more. There's so much about when they were drinking the alcohol and they were throwing it over their shoulders or out. I was dying. Well, wait, that's alcohol. Don't throw it.
That's all he has left.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So there were so many moments, so many great moments between them. So I loved it. So what else struck you? Were there any themes that you saw, or the cinematography? What else did you think?
Well, like despite all that went on in this episode and the ending and all that, there was still that feeling of hope because they're hoping to get home. They're hoping, they just have, you know, they've gone through it all. They just had all this very emotional, traumatic stuff happen to both of them. And yet they still kind of they're clinging to the hope that they are going to get home and see their family again, that because they found each other, they can do that. And so I liked that, that they still held on to the hope that they have, because it would be easy to just be like, we can't do this.
Right.
We're trying, this is not working. We're just, we're going to give up, but they're not. And they have each other, which is, I'm imagining being alone would be a lot easier to give up that hope. But I love that together they still do have that despite all that's going on in this episode and before, So that was one thing that I liked that a lot.
Yeah. The Englishman, because you had talked about him so much. And it's funny because I guess the theme that I saw there was loneliness, isolation, and longing for that connection. But there's also this awkwardness because was he awkward before? Probably, but it's even more intense in this type of situation. And he talks about failing naval school,
the Naval Academy.
Course. Yeah. But I love that Daryl kind of supports him. Basically, he's all, yeah, but all those people that passed, they're just squids now. It's so funny that he said that, but he's basically, they're all squids now. And look at you, you're still here. So you can do this. You lead us and we'll follow you. So I thought that was I loved seeing even Daryl and Carol. Of course, they lied about, being able to sail on a boat, but they were trying to get him to get them home.
Oh, I love that because Daryl said about being the last man standing. And that's what Beth told him. Beth told Daryl Dixon that one time, that he would be the last man standing.
Yes,
and so I
you're
thought
right.
so I thought that was really great that they reused that, him kind of passing on to the next guy, and yeah, it was neat because, Daryl didn't grow up getting any kind of encouragement. He didn't grow, so this is something he's learned since the apocalypse, that, to encourage people and to do this. And so I just thought that was like a kind of showed growth in him. He's just very different from when we first met him. That's not something he would have done in season 1, And so for him to do this, even though they're kind of like, oh yeah, we can sail and blah, blah, blah. I mean, he was genuine in saying the things that he said, So I really like that part. So another thing that I thought was like the living instead of surviving, which is a big part of this season. And I think that's going to be something very new for both of them because all they've done is survive. And I wonder, are they going to, I guess my question, are they going to be able to have that peace inside them where they can be, start living again? We see Carol with this man, is that going to be her, inspiration to be, living instead of surviving and whatever. I don't know what will happen with Daryl, but I just thought that was a really, it's a new concept for these two because they are survivors, and the majority of our group is, that's what they are. They wouldn't still be around if they, weren't survivors. But this is the world they live in now, and at some point they do have to start having a life. I mean, I don't know what that looks like in this world, but yeah. So I like that that's part of this season, and I am excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was thinking about Daryl on the boat and how he was asking about Laurent and wondering, do you think he made it home? And Carol said, of course he made it home. And I think you're right. I think Carol is the one that's bringing the hope, because I think something's been lifted for her and she's able to see that. And yeah, she's going to be open to so many things. But yeah, and Daryl reflecting on loss, because we did see him have a flashback to when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting, right?
And odd because it was so quick. You could barely even tell what was happening.
Yeah. And that was on the boat. And it's interesting because the boat sort of has this danger motif, water motif, because even though they're not dealing with walkers on that boat, they still have to deal with dangers and surviving still. Like, it's not easy even when you're not facing walkers, there are still things that you have to survive. And you could tell that neither one of them really know what they were doing, but they're like, hey, we're doing this, we're going to figure it out. I did think it was sad that Julian ended up dying at the end. And I knew he was a walker way before she even happened upon him. I'm like, I already know. And that was so sad. That was so sad.
So we always talk about the cinematography and Daryl Dixon because we've just both been so just thrilled at seeing all of this and just how they're doing, in France and now we're England and Spain. But I love that opening shot at the coast, it's the Seven Sisters is what it's called. And that was just amazing. And on the Insider after the episode, they talked about how they use drone footage to get a lot of that. They use drones to film a lot of that. So that gave us a very big, broad view of where they were and just see how small they were on that big, just to show you the, how long it's taking them to walk places and go and all that. So and it was just beautiful, I thought that was really that opening. It was just a good way to open the season up with that scene.
Yes, I thought the same thing. I knew that as they were showing them, but then how tiny they looked. I'm like, this is massive. This thing is massive. And then they show them a countryside and then go on to London. And we see a lot of landmarks. We see the bridge that is up, probably representing something's broken here. And the empty streets that we've talked about in our trailer talk previously, how the streets are empty and how Julian says, he's the last Englishman standing. And they're like, where are all the people? And it is still odd. I know he said everybody else is dead. They couldn't survive. But really? I don't know. I feel like and I don't know that we'll ever know because they're not there anymore. But that was very interesting and also sort of reminded me of 28 Days Later. So in that scene. But the cinematography, it was just so gorgeous. It is our draw, I know, for us and so many people, how global it is because it's just so beautiful to see it. It's everything that we see. And even in London, we see the red, what do you call it? The red phone booth. I couldn't think of the right word. So we saw different landmarks. We saw it said, what did it say? The graffiti. I don't remember what it was, but it's another word for get out, which was like The Walking Dead, like keep out.
Yeah.
What did it say? It's going to
I don't remember that one.
So someone out there, you can remind us what that means because I have forgotten now, but I know it was something they would say at their location. So I love that it brings us into this world of theirs. We were also, I guess, introduced to those guys on horsebacks with the masks that had horns on them. What did you think about that moment?
It was odd. I mean, obviously they were going to run into some people. I mean, or we at least thought, I guess London was done of people or, but yeah, it was really interesting. Like, who are these people and what, some kind of a tribe thing. And they look like maybe scavengers because they went right to the boat and started, picking through with, and got all the supplies and things. So I thought, well, maybe they're just a scavenger group that kind of, goes around and I don't imagine many ships are wrecking on their coast very often in this day and age or, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they fit in if, because they don't look like the other people we see, that I think you're going to mention. Right. That, yeah, they're very different from that group. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't know really what to think of them. It was just odd.
It was odd because I'm thinking you went through the trouble of making these masks for one, right? So, and what are your height? Maybe they're not trying to hide. Maybe it symbolizes something else, their beliefs or whatever it might be. But it's just so interesting because I feel like it takes a lot of effort to do that. And why are you doing that? And then also, I don't know if I'm making this up or not, but why did it look like they were almost in like fur loincloths or something? I don't know. I feel like
that's where I got thought too. So where are they getting? Yeah. I'm sure we'll see them again. And hopefully something will make some sense or something. But yeah, I agree. They just seemed kind of out of place in Spain. And maybe I just don't know Spain well enough to know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Ooh, some people, but see, we're intrigued with this
Yeah,
very first
exactly.
episode. And then, of course, we do see the Jeep
Mhm.
with people in it. And I almost looked like that one main guy that will be in here. I don't know if that was him or not in
Yeah,
the Jeep. What
it
did
was
you
hard to
think?
see them. I kind of thought so too, but
Yeah.
then, yeah, it was pretty quick, and the trees were, because I even slowed it down to watch it a little better, and it was still, hard to see who it was.
Yeah. And then we see Daryl go back and look for Carol, and she's
Yeah.
not there. And you're thinking, who took Carol? Who took her? Like, did those people take her? Was she in the Jeep? Did I don't even know what those people are called. Those loincloth horsemen take her? I don't know.
Well, I when I slowed down the Jeep thing too, the one person had like a brown. Now I looking to see if it's Carol, and it looked like a man. So I don't think it was. I don't think she was in the Jeep, but that doesn't mean she wasn't. Well, my other thought was, or is she hiding because she heard
Yes.
them coming? Which I'm
Yes.
hoping that's the case, because like
Yeah.
they can't be separated. They just found each other.
I know, right? Yeah, because I'm like, "Where is she?" And he's
Mhm.
calling for her, and she's not coming, so and she seemed very alert when she woke up, like, I feel like she came out of her infectious state that
Yeah.
she was in.
Mhm.
I felt like she was more coherent, so I don't know, who's to say where she is? We'll find out where she's at, so all right, we are going to get to our rapid fire questions. So, Renee, I'm going to ask you some questions and you're going to answer off the cuff if you can. And I'll answer right behind you.
Okay.
So, the first one, what was the scariest Walker moment?
Well, I don't know if this was actually scary, but it was like interesting. Those nests of walkers in the trees. I'm like, I mean, they probably hoisted people up there and they died, and then, they're walkers now. But
Oh,
what? I mean, like, what's going on there? So I guess it wasn't really scary. It was very interesting more than anything. Like, what's happening and why are they doing this? So I hope that we get an explanation for that, because it was really something we hadn't seen before. And I think, like, were they, this, that, like, people are in trouble and they hoist them up there. I don't know, but it seems odd that they would put walkers up there. So then I thought, oh, maybe they were human and then they died up there. And, and then,
wow.
so
I, 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 I don't know why. I just thought they were walkers when, like, they were trapping them for
Mhm.
something, is what I thought. They could be trapping them for the railroad.
Mhm. Yeah, and that could be too. It could just be that. Yeah, it just
Yeah,
seemed awfully high for like
true.
just a trap. Usually trap. They. I don't know. It just seemed like they
Yeah.
were up there really high, and I don't know, because I just seen
Yeah.
if they were humans, they were trying to they put them up there really high so they can't get down by themselves or something. I don't know, but yeah, they could very well be for that chain gang or whatever it is
Yeah.
at the train. So anyway, I just thought that was very interesting.
One of the scariest moments for me was when Daryl was trying to get into that house and he's like, Carol, open the door. Get it open. She's like, I'm trying. We know they're going to live, but
Yeah.
I don't know why it scared the out of me. And as they, coming out of the leaves and stuff, that was okay. But then as I saw them getting closed in and there's just two of them and Daryl just with that one knife, like so close, I'm like, you guys, hurry, you're killing me. So I thought that was really scary, which I loved. See, that's what I wanted and I got what I wanted. All right. What was the most emotional moment for you?
Carol talking about Sophia, and that for me, I mean, there were a lot of different moments that were very emotional, but that was just, it was something like, like we had talked about. It was just something that was like, oh, this has to happen for her. She has to have that, get that some kind of relief from this and carrying this burden for so many years. And when she was talking about being lighter and stuff, it was like, yes, good. That's, and I got to thinking, man, I wonder when the last time Carol felt lighter. You know what I mean? Like, she's
Yeah.
had all this, but even before the apocalypse, she had to deal with Ed. So, I mean, like, when was the last time that she literally felt this way? And I bet it's been forever, and so
Yeah.
it just really, I don't know, just touched an emotion in me, and I just loved it. I loved that whole scene was just wonderful.
So I already talked about the most emotional moment for me, but it was that beginning moment with Daryl talking about Merle and his childhood. Something just really struck a chord in with me. My eyes welled up. And I think it's because, like I said, I feel like we know these characters. Something about losing innocence, because that's basically what it was. You know, he says it was just me and him and we didn't have anything. And then now this is our life. And it just, that part just really struck me. And an emotional moment, I think that was supposed to be an emotional moment, was when he was talking to Carol about Isabel and about how he was about ready to give up, and she helped him not to do that. And I thought that that was such a vulnerable moment. So I feel like that was an emotional moment, but the opening scene for me was really what hit me. Okay, what was the best kill or action beat?
I liked that first, where they first encountered those walkers in the street, and they were, all those ones had been like, oh, the overgrowth had, grown over them, and they had to break out of that. And just, like you said, there was that, those tense moments where we know they're going to live. We know this, but it's still just like, oh my gosh. And so it's just, again, just fun to see the two of them together, because like you said, they work, it's just so well done, and they just like anticipate the other one's move, and they do, all this. And so I just thought that whole thing was wonderful, even though you're like, oh no, kind of a little worried there, but knowing somehow they'll figure it out and they'll get their way out of it. But yeah, I love that. I just thought that whole thing. And there was a little bit of information Greg Nicotero shared about making those walkers that were overgrown, and they like had to put their suits on them and do all that. And then they like hand kind of braided the vines and things together. They did that all by hand to connect them and things. And so that I just added to, that I rewatched it after he had said that, after I heard him say that. And so, yeah, I just thought that whole scene was just very well done and scary and fun and everything.
It was. Also, I guess for me, since I've already talked about that part, would be the moment when Carol killed the walker with the fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun to see her do that. But also for action, I love the water. There was something, felt like a not natural disaster, but you're dealing with Mother Nature, right?
Yeah.
You're on a boat and a storm comes. This happens to people all the time. And we don't really ever in The Walking Dead get to see people on a boat trying to survive. Not that small anyway.
Yeah.
And so I really liked that moment. I felt it just added to the whole episode. Also, the danger of neither one of them knowing how to sail and how are they going to survive this. And with the one person who knew anything injured,
Yeah.
laying up down there. So I really appreciated that. All right. So I wanted to give a screen bite, a fun nugget, and something I had read about this episode, and I'll share it here and then whatever you might want to add to it, Renee. And that is that those canned hot dogs. Okay. So it symbolizes home. And it's the joys of holding on to that. So this is going to be, from what I have read from the showrunners, that it represents substance, the USA, a sense of home. So it's not just a moment that they put in. It's going to string along through all the other episodes here. So it'll be fun to watch that as we watch each episode, because really Daryl and Carol want to get home. And that's what they, want to do. And so how is this can of hot dogs that came, and how are we going to see it throughout the season? So I think that that's kind of cool to follow that. And I think Norman Reedus said something like, maybe we should just eat them. They'll probably kill us anyway.
Yeah.
So I it'll be fun to watch how these hot dogs go through the season. What did you think of those moments, or did you hear?
Yeah, I just thought it was like, and at first you're like, okay, we had a lot of focus on these hot dogs, but then you start thinking about some things, and then they say some things, and then you're like, oh wait, this is a little bit more than just this can of hot dogs, which I didn't even know they make canned hot dogs, but okay. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just in Europe or something. I don't know, but I don't know where she found them exactly, but But yeah, it was really interesting to see that and the symbolism and things. But yeah, it seemed to have a lot of focus on that for it just to be this, can of hot dogs.
It meaning more than that, like,
Mhm.
when are they really gonna open it? There was a couple times where they thought, "This
Mhm.
is it," when they were in the house, and
Mhm.
they thought that was it, and then Julian arrived, and then they talk about it, I think, in the boat, can't even remember, and, but so, I have a feeling this it's gonna mean a lot. Things symbolize so much. Even in our day-to-day lives, there's
Mhm.
so much that's a symbolization. So we are going to get back to our question of the day because it ties in. And so,
Mhm.
what food instantly reminds you of home?
So the first thing I thought of was bread, and I don't know how you would get that in the apocalypse, but I just think like bread is just such a comfort food, and there's so many ways to use bread as a sandwich, or you in your soup, or in different things. And so I think bread would be that thing.
What's funny is mine is sourdough bread
Oh.
because it represents where I live. But there's like a couple of them because I was thinking sourdough bread, but then I was also thinking garlic fries because we have a garlic festivals here. And also, and something that I do not like at all, but would remind me of home is Spam. Like, I do not like Spam, but if I was in apocalypse and I had to eat it, I would probably think it tasted like steak and lobster or something, right? Because you're like, "I'm eating this." So, that would remind me
Mhm.
of home. So, all right, friends out there, what about you? What food instantly reminds you of home? Please share it with us. You can comment here wherever you're watching or listening to us. If you're watching us on YouTube, please leave it here, or you can go to social media and you can get to that in our show notes at screensinfocus.com. And when you get to screensinfocus.com, all of our social media links are there. So you can just click on that, or you can call us because we would love to hear you. And you can leave that message at 669-223-8542. Let us know what food instantly reminds you of home. All right. So, any parting thoughts from this episode or what you hope to see in the next episode, Renee?
Yeah, I don't know when we're gonna see it, but I'm waiting for that train sequence because they have hyped it up so much, and I know a lot of that'll be the more, like the filming of it, is what they're thinking on their side, because it's been like executive producers and things that have talked about it. Just so excited to see what's up with it and what are they doing with it, and yeah, they just really hyped it up. So I'm very much looking forward to that. But I don't know when when we're gonna see it, but yeah, I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to see Carol meet this guy and see what
Yeah.
happens because it's gonna, it's gonna be something very different. And she's in a very like, the different mindset now. She's got a different outlook on everything. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
I 100% agree with what you just said. That's what I'm looking forward to. The train scene, Carol, and how that impacts
Mhm.
her. I can't wait to see Daryl on his motorcycle. That is going to be so much fun. But immediately, I want to know what's with Carol and where is she? I've kind of seen a preview. And so I'm thinking that she might have just been, okay, don't listen if you don't want any spoilers, people. Okay, don't listen for 30 seconds. But we see her, Daryl and Carol walking up with another person. So, and she's hurt. So I have a feeling she just walked away.
Mhm.
That's what I'm thinking. Or Daryl catches up with her really quickly because they seem to be together in the next episode. So, woo, thank God he doesn't have to go
I am
figure that
stupid.
part out. I'd be like, "Wah, not ready for that." All right, everyone, please come back as we break down each episode. We'll be here for episode 2. But right now, we have TV and movie recommendations for you. Or actually, we have TV movie recommendations this week for you. So let me know, or Renee, what are you watching?
So I found this, it's on Netflix, and it's a Netflix series called Inside Man with Stanley Tucci and David Tennant. And it's a thriller and this and that. But I had never heard of it. And so I thought, well, those two, it's got to be great. It's 4 episodes. They're a little longer, it's just a mini series. And it was outstanding. Outstanding. It was like, it's told in like two two stories that kind of interconnect a little or whatever. But yeah, it's just crazy and how it works and how, everything was so good. And the supporting cast was, I didn't know any of them. I don't think I didn't, I none of them looked familiar, but they were so good. There's this kid who plays the son, and he was just, yeah, I was really impressed with him. And anyway, yeah, I highly recommend it. It was very good. And it, like I said, 4 episodes, that they're just a little bit longer than a normal. I guess when I do a mini series like that, they make them longer or whatever. But yeah, so I highly recommend that. Then I started watching another one. I think it was from 2023 and Netflix again. It called in is it Entitled. Yes, that sounded wrong when I was going to say it, but it's Brett Gelman, who is Murray on Stranger Things.
Wait, who's Murray?
He's got oh my gosh, Hopper and Joyce go meet him, and he tells them all the secret. He's like whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, the conspiracy theory guy. That's him. Okay, so he's the main actor in this, and it's like kind of a comedy. And as it goes on, there might be some horror elements being added. I'm not sure if it's jokey or I still haven't, like I'm on, like I'm half, I think there's 8 episodes and I'm on 4. And so there's like little bits coming in. I'm like, wait, is this I don't know for sure because it's pretty funny. So that one again is really good. And then I've never watched Resident Alien. And so a new season I think came out on Netflix. So I started watching it. I've only gotten 2 episodes in, but I like it. I mean, it's goofy and it's just so funny to see this alien trying to acclimate to a human and things. And it's just, and so far I'm enjoying it.
Well, are you only on season 1?
Yeah, I'm like 2 episodes in. I hardly,
So season 1 is probably the best season because once you start to get into it gets somewhat a little bit, it is silly, but the original silly is hilariously silly, like so funny. Yeah. Then it gets into its moments, and it has ended. It had its final season, and I actually liked how it wrapped everything up. So, and I love the show. I think the acting is really good, and so yes, I agree. Everyone should check out Resident Alien. All right, so I have 3 recommendations, actually 4. The first one is the Runarounds on Prime. Oh my gosh, I haven't finished this yet. I'm having so much fun. Yes, it is about teenagers and bands, and that had me all over it. I'm like, music in a band, like, oh, so good. Mm-hmm. Have you seen anything about this, Renee?
So I watched a little bit of the first episode, and I just didn't get into it yet. Then I saw that you were so excited, so I thought, okay, I have to give it another watch because if Diana likes it, it's probably really good, so I'll give it another shot.
Well, I got sucked in from the very first episode, so if you didn't, maybe you won't. I don't know. There's just something I love. I love bands. All my boys had played musical instruments like guitar, bass, drums. So I gravitate toward that already. Mm-hmm. So anything to do with that. But I just find their conversations funny. Like it feels, I just think I like the writing. I know it's silly at times and it feels far-fetched maybe, but I don't know. I like it. Like I've only seen like 4 episodes. And at times I start to think, okay, I'm not sure. But then all of a sudden something sucks me in and you get to learn more about each character and just what it takes to be in a band, who's really wanting to be in that band and where it goes from there. So I am really enjoying this. I did put out my TikTok review because I do that with all TV and movies that I really enjoy. And the Runarounds themselves liked my video. So I thought that was really fun. So anybody who doesn't know, I do want to fill you in on this. So these guys tried out for Outer Banks, auditioned, I believe got the role, and I think they became a band for Outer Banks, like for a episode or a season, whatever it might be. After that, they became a real band. Like they said, we love this. They became a band. They're on tour. They put out an EP. And then the showrunner or whoever decided to make this show called The Runarounds with that same group of guys. So I just thought that story is so meta and so much fun. And I am truly enjoying this. But you have to enjoy bands and teenage young people life to enjoy this. So just know that going into that. The other thing is Only Murders in the Building is out for a new season. I've only seen the very first episode. I think 3 dropped. And you know what it reminds me of is that these guys are all brilliant actors and the writing is so good, so sharp, so funny. If you haven't tuned in, check it out. It's so good. And if you have, then you know what I'm talking about. But I highly recommend it. The very first episode, I was dying. Steve Martin had me laughing. It was so funny. So check that out. And from season 3 has been out, but I haven't been able to watch it because you have to have MGM Plus or something. But long story short, I was able to get it and I watched season 3 and I like binged it. Have you seen any of this? Renee?
Yeah, we watched the first 2 seasons, but then, we haven't had a chance to get to the 3rd yet because we're just watching so many other things. But yeah, we really enjoyed the first 2 seasons. So yeah.
Yeah. So I love this show. So I'm like, and it has some far-fetched, I mean, the whole thing is, but I mean, some far-fetched moments, but I didn't care. I'm like, I don't care. I'm watching it. I love it. It's got everything that I love about it. So it's good. And just the last thing I wanted to throw out there is I am still watching The Last Kingdom. And I'm on season 4 and it's a Vikings type show and it's so good. I am like so hooked on Vikings. So Vikings Valhalla, and now The Last Kingdom, all so good. I highly recommend it if you are into that type of TV show. All right. So we don't have any movies for you this week, but I'm going to make it my job to at least watch one, if not more movies and recommend some to all of you. But Renee, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you asking. I love talking about Daryl Dixon. So, this was, a very, yes, I can do this.
Yes. Such a great premiere. We can't wait to break down episodes too. So everybody come back and join us. We hope we've shared some insight, something funny, anything. Let us know what you want to hear more of or what resonated with you. Remember to subscribe anywhere that you listen to us. And remember to keep watching, keep exploring, and keep those screens in focus. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.